Opening reality check. That's how long it takes for a thought to pull you up or pull you under. 8 seconds to decide if this moment is another step toward your future or another chapter in the story where you remain stuck. 8 seconds is nothing, but it's everything, because the life you want begins with a single choice in a single moment like this one. And yet, if you're here, listening, breathing through frustration, carrying the invisible tension of knowing you're meant for more, but not moving toward it, it means something powerful. It means there is a fire in you that refuses to die. It means you're not done, not even close. But let's be honest. Most people don't feel stuck because life is empty. They feel stuck because they're overflowing with ideas, desires, dreams, and no direction to funnel them. Stuck because they've built habits of hesitation. Stuck because they've trained themselves to wait for motivation instead of taking action. And every day that passes becomes another layer of stillness. Comfortable, familiar, but suffocating. Life doesn't trap you. You trap yourself when you believe you have no power. You're not stuck because you lack potential. You're stuck because your brain is running the same old patterns like a scratched record. Patterns built from fear, excuses, perfectionism, self-doubt, the voices of other people you never asked to shape your destiny. You're not without capability. You're without movement. And movement is the cure, because clarity doesn't come before action. It comes through action. Confidence doesn't precede success. It is created by showing up, even when you feel unprepared, even when you shake, even when your voice cracks. Life doesn't reward thought, it rewards effort, it rewards courage, it rewards the soul that stands up instead of sitting in self-pity. So let this be the spark. Let this be the 8-second shift. Right here, right now, declare that you're done waiting for the perfect moment. The perfect moment is a lie, the moment is now. And if you stay, if you lean into the next words, we go deeper into why you feel trapped and how you break free from the inside out. The real reason you feel stuck. You're not stuck because life conspired against you. You're stuck because the mind you're living with today was built by the choices you made yesterday and the habits you repeated last year and the stories you accepted as truth long before you ever questioned them. Feeling trapped isn't a condition. It's a pattern. A pattern fed by fear, maintained by repetition and disguised as comfort. Most people don't even realize they are the architect of their own cage. They think stagnation is caused by lack of opportunities, lack of talent, lack of support. But the harsh truth, opportunity knocks for everybody at some point, but only those who have trained themselves to move, to leap, to say yes before the fear catches up. Only they get to experience the breakthrough. Others watch from behind the glass, palms pressed, wondering why everyone else gets to run while they stand still. Stuck feels heavy because it is not just inactivity, it is internal conflict. You know what you want, but you're afraid of what it will demand of you. Growth is uncomfortable. It stretches the identity you've known. It exposes the weaknesses you've avoided. It forces you to confront the truth that change isn't a moment of inspiration. It is a repeated decision to do what scares you. The mind clings to the familiar even when the familiar hurts. That's the trap. You stay in the job you hate because it feels safe. You stay in the version of yourself you've outgrown because reinvention feels risky. You wait for confidence, not realizing confidence is born from the very actions you refuse to take. And every day you delay, the roots of hesitation grow deeper, not because you're broken, but because you're human. And humans adapt to whatever they practice. If you practice fear, you become fluent in it. If you practice action, even messy, imperfect, uncertain action, you become unstoppable. Stuck is not a life sentence. It's a signal, a message, a call demanding to be answered. And the moment you realize that your prison has an open door, everything changes. Because next comes the shift, the reclaiming of power, the moment you become responsible for your future instead of a victim of your past. Ownership, the moment everything turns, nothing changes until you do. Not your circumstances, not your results, not your direction. The world does not transform for the person who waits. It transforms for the person who takes ownership. Brutally honest, unapologetic ownership. The day you stop blaming your history, your environment, your parents, the economy, your partner, your boss, your trauma, your fears, that is the day you walk out of the cage you built with your own hands. Ownership is liberation disguised as responsibility. Most people reject it because it feels like pressure, but in truth, it is power. When you own your life, you no longer wait for someone to choose you. You choose yourself. You no longer beg for opportunity. You create it. You no longer replay excuses like a song stuck on repeat. You replace them with decisions. The person you become is not determined by what happened to you, but by how you respond to it now. You can come from nothing and still build everything. You can be shaken by failure, but not defined by it. You can be wounded by life and still rise stronger, clearer, more unstoppable. But none of that happens until you look in the mirror and say, I am responsible for my results. I'm responsible for my effort. I'm responsible for what happens next. And that truth is not meant to shame you. It's meant to free you. Because if you created the patterns that hold you back, you can create new ones that pull you forward. If you built the habits that keep you stuck, you can build habits that break you loose. If you believe the lies that limit you, you can speak louder truths that empower you. Ownership is the turning point, the line between who you were and who you are capable of becoming. It is the moment the victim dies and the leader is born. It is where transformation begins, but not where it ends. Because owning your life is only the first step. The next is movement. Bold, imperfect, immediate movement. A step not taken in confidence, but in commitment. A step that says, I refuse to be who I've always been. And when we enter that stage, everything accelerates. Action, the cure to stagnation. Action is the antidote to anxiety, doubt, overthinking, and stagnation. Not planning, not wishing, not journaling about the life you want while living the life you tolerate. Action, movement, forward motion by choice, not by accident. You don't think your way out of feeling stuck. You move your way out because motion creates momentum and momentum rewires your identity. Every step you take tells your brain a new story. I am someone who does. I am someone who tries. I'm someone who is no longer frozen. The greatest misconception in personal growth is that you must feel ready to act. You're waiting for motivation. You're waiting for confidence. You're waiting for a surge of belief to launch you. But action doesn't follow motivation. Motivation follows action. You don't wait to feel courageous, you act despite fear, and courage grows as a reward. Most people never escape stuckness because they treat action like a finish line, not a lifestyle. They move once, get tired, expect a breakthrough, and when change doesn't arrive overnight, they retreat. But mastery is built through repetition, discipline. Daily, consistent, sometimes boring, often uncomfortable discipline is what separates dreamers from achievers. You don't get transformation by doing something once. You earn it through showing up again and again, especially when progress looks invisible. Even a small step matters. One page written, one workout finished, one job application submitted, one difficult conversation initiated. Tiny actions compound into massive results. They stack like bricks until you've built a version of yourself that would intimidate the person you used to be. The stuck version of you fades, not because you were rescued, but because you evolved through movement. Action forces clarity. It exposes what works and what doesn't. It teaches you faster than any book or seminar or affirmation ever could. You learn by doing. You grow by trying. You rise by refusing to stay where you are. And yes, movement is uncomfortable. It pulls you away from the familiar. It challenges your excuses. But discomfort is the birthplace of expansion. Every step into the unknown is a step toward the life you say you want. You don't break your limits by thinking about them. You break them by walking through them. Now we go further into the mindset that sustains this momentum, the discipline that builds unshakable identity. Discipline, the muscle that builds your future. Discipline is not punishment. Discipline is freedom in disguise. It is the structure that holds you up when motivation collapses, the backbone that keeps you aligned when emotion tries to pull you off course. Discipline is choosing what you want most over what you want now. And most people never escape stuckness because they keep trading their future for temporary comfort. True discipline begins the moment excitement fades. Anyone can start. Anyone can feel inspired on day one. But discipline is about day 30, when you're tired, day 60, when progress moves slow, day 100, when no one is clapping, no one is watching, and the only reward is your own persistence. The discipline don't wait for circumstances to be perfect. They build progress in imperfect conditions. Discipline is a muscle. Ignore it and it weakens. Train it and it strengthens beyond recognition. It is not developed through massive heroic effort once in a blue moon. It grows through daily commitments. Small promises kept. Decisions made with intention instead of impulse. Waking up when you said you would, following through when it's easier to quit. Showing up for yourself like your life depends on it, because it does. Most people think discipline is about restriction, but it's actually about expansion. When you master discipline, you stop negotiating with your excuses. You stop being bullied by your moods. You stop letting the weakest part of you run the show. You rise from internal conflict into internal leadership. Discipline breeds confidence. Confidence breeds courage. Courage breeds opportunity. And opportunity multiplied through consistency becomes momentum that feels unstoppable. It's not magic, it's compounding. Day after day, decision after decision, action stacked on action until it becomes identity. You don't force discipline forever. Eventually, discipline is who you are. When you own your routines, you own your results. When you master your habits, you master your outcomes. Not because the world gets easier, but because you get stronger. You evolve into someone who does the hard things naturally. Not because you feel like it, but because you are built for it. This is where transformation takes root. But discipline alone is not enough, not without belief. The next shift is internal, emotional, deeply personal, the rewrite of your self-identity. Identity, becoming the person who no longer settles. Identity is the invisible ceiling above your results. You will never outperform the story you believe about yourself. You can build discipline, take action, chase goals with intensity, but if your identity is wired to believe you're not enough, if you still see yourself as the person who fails, who quits, who settles, you will sabotage your own progress. Not out of weakness, but out of familiarity. We always return to the level of who we think we are. You don't feel stuck because you can't change. You feel stuck because you're trying to change outcomes without changing identity. You want success while holding on to the identity of someone who doubts, procrastinates, overthinks. You want growth while staying loyal to a version of yourself that belongs to your past. Identity is not inherited. It is constructed through repetition, through decision, through belief reinforced by action. Every time you choose discipline over comfort, you cast a vote for the identity of someone who follows through. Every time you push through resistance, you shape the identity of someone who is resilient. Every time you take ownership instead of blaming circumstances, you reinforce the identity of a powerful creator, not a passive observer. Your identity expands when you behave like the future version of yourself. Before you feel ready, before it feels natural, before anyone sees it. You step into the identity you want by acting like the person who already has what you desire. You speak differently. You walk differently. Your standards rise. You stop negotiating your worth. You stop tolerating what the old you accepted. Identity is a declaration. This is who I am now. And every behavior becomes proof. When you upgrade your identity, everything else begins to align. Habits, decisions, relationships, opportunities. You stop chasing change and start embodying it. You become dangerous to your limitations. You become unstoppable to doubt. Success is not an event. It's a personality you step into, a way of being, a standard, a frequency you hold regardless of circumstance. This is the rebirth. The moment you stop being defined by who you were and start operating as who you're meant to become. Now we take that identity into the real world. Into relationships, money, and opportunity, because the self you build inside must be lived outside. Mindset, relationships, money, the external reflection of your internal world. Life mirrors who you are, not what you wish for. Your relationships, your earnings, your opportunities, they are all reflections of your internal blueprint. If you value yourself at a low level, you will tolerate low effort, low standards, low love, low income. You will gravitate toward environments that match your belief. You will settle for connections that drain instead of elevate. You will choose comfort over growth because comfort aligns with the identity of someone still surviving instead of someone rising. Money is not just numbers. It's a measurement of value exchange. The value you bring to the world, the problems you solve, the courage you carry into action. People who feel unworthy rarely take risks. They rarely pursue skills. They rarely ask for more because they don't believe they deserve more. Not consciously, but unconsciously. Stuckness expresses itself in finances, not because you lack potential, but because you've never demanded your worth through empowered action. Relationships follow the same law. When you accept disrespect, inconsistency, emotional crumbs, you're revealing a belief about what you think you deserve. When you surround yourself with small thinkers, you shrink to remain accepted. When you keep people who feed your excuses, you stay exactly where you are. Stagnation is often social before it becomes personal. Change your circle and your standards shift. Upgrade your environment and your identity rises to match it. Success is holistic. You cannot have a powerful mind and weak habits. You cannot have high standards and low boundaries. You cannot seek abundance while operating from scarcity. Every level of life demands a different version of you, one who communicates clearly, chooses intentionally, and acts courageously. When your mindset strengthens, you choose better people. When your identity upgrades, you pursue bigger opportunities. When your discipline grows, your income follows. When you stop playing small, you stop attracting small outcomes. Nothing external changes until something internal does. But once it does, the ripple is unstoppable. You begin to create instead of wait. You stop hoping life will improve and start building improvement with your own hands. This is where transformation becomes visible, where your inner work starts rewriting your outer world. And now we step deeper into the part people fear most, discomfort, the gateway to every next level of your life. Discomfort, the doorway to your next level. You are not stuck. You are sheltered from your own potential by comfort that feels safe but slowly suffocates the soul. Comfort is warm, familiar, predictable, and it is the silent killer of growth. Every dream dies where comfort lives. Every breakthrough waits on the other side of resistance. The life you want has requirements, and comfort is not one of them. Discomfort is not a punishment. Discomfort is the birthplace of evolution. It's the stretching of your identity, the strengthening of discipline, the sharpening of your character. You don't grow by remaining where you've always been. You grow by stepping into the cold, into the unknown, into the spaces where your excuses can no longer protect you. Your next level is not hidden. It is simply guarded by challenge. Most people meet discomfort like danger, when in reality it's direction. Fear points to where you must go. Resistance points to what you must face. If it scares you, it's likely the doorway. If it challenges you, it's likely the path. Comfort wants to keep you exactly where you are, small, quiet, predictable. But greatness demands discomfort. Progress demands sacrifice. Reinvention demands the willingness to be uncomfortable longer than most are willing to. When you choose discomfort on purpose, you choose growth. When you lean into challenge instead of avoiding it, you become unstoppable. The muscle of resilience thickens. Confidence expands. Your tolerance for difficulty elevates. Suddenly, the things that once overwhelmed you become easy, and a new ceiling appears, calling you higher. Discomfort is temporary. Regret is forever. Most regret in life doesn't come from what people tried and failed. It comes from never trying, from the dream that stayed a dream, from the potential that never got used, from the version of you that never lived. So step into discomfort with intention. Seek the difficult conversations. Start the project you've avoided. Learn the skills you've been afraid to pursue. Take the risks you've talked yourself out of for years, not recklessly, but courageously. Because discomfort isn't a wall, it's a corridor. And every step through it widens your capacity to handle more, be more, and create more. You do not rise in comfort, you rise in challenge. And now we enter the deeper layer, the emotional core, the persistence and resilience required when results take longer than you hoped. Perseverance, holding the line when progress is slow. Transformation is not a straight climb. It's a staircase in the dark. One step, then another, with no guarantee when the light will appear. You will rise, you will fall, you will question whether any of this work matters. And in those moments when effort feels invisible and progress feels invisible, perseverance becomes the most powerful force you own. Anyone can push when results come quickly. Anyone can grind when momentum is loud, but real growth happens in the quiet, in the days where nothing seems to move, where no one claps, where outcomes refuse to show their face. Stuckness doesn't just test your desire, it tests your endurance. Can you continue when applause is absent? Can you build when nothing is glamorous? Can you persist when no one sees you? That is where champions are made. Perseverance is dedication without evidence. It's choosing belief over disappointment. It's returning to the gym, the business plan, the goal, the vision. Even when your emotions beg you to quit, you strengthen perseverance. Each time you show up without reward, each time you hold your standards when compromise offers comfort, each time you keep going, not because it's easy, but because you promised yourself you would. Most people give up not because they are incapable, but because they expect success to arrive on their schedule. They don't realize results compound unseen. Seeds grow underground before anything breaks the surface. Progress happens internally before it becomes visible externally. You're building roots first, resilience, discipline, identity, and roots must be deep before you rise high. Otherwise, you collapse under your own potential. Perseverance is faith in action. It's choosing long-term strength over short-term relief. It's trusting that the grind will pay off even when there's no proof yet. This mindset, this refusal to quit, is what separates those who dream from those who achieve, those who survive from those who rise, those who stay stuck from those who break through everything they thought would hold them. Hold the line a little longer, push when others stop, continue when comfort says enough, because when perseverance turns into breakthrough, when one moment finally cracks open into progress, everything accelerates, momentum floods in, and the life you've been building quietly erupts into reality. Which leads us to the final transformation, taking everything you've learned and turning it into a life rebuilt from power, clarity, and unstoppable forward movement. There comes a moment when your effort compounds, your identity aligns, your habits sharpen, and the version of you that once felt trapped becomes almost unrecognizable. Not because life suddenly got easier, but because you got stronger. Breakthrough is not lightning striking from the sky. Breakthrough is built layer by layer, choice by choice, day after day of showing up when the old you would have quit. Breakthrough is earned, not discovered. The road behind you, the fear you faced, the discipline you built, the action you took, even when uncertain, those are the materials of your transformation. You didn't wait for clarity, you created it. You didn't wait for belief, you embodied it. You didn't wait for the perfect time you decided time would no longer be your excuse. You outgrew who you were by consistently choosing who you could become. You are unstuck the moment you stop negotiating with your potential. You are free the moment you stop asking for permission to rise. Life opens for the one who moves boldly, speaks truthfully, acts relentlessly. Unstoppable is not a personality trait, it is a pattern, a rhythm of effort and courage repeated so many times it becomes identity. This final stage is not the end, it is the ignition point. Now you operate from power instead of hesitation. Now you choose challenges instead of avoiding them. Now you see opportunities you were once blind to because your mind was filled with doubt instead of possibility. You understand that success is not luck. It is alignment between who you are, what you do daily, and what you refuse to settle for. You no longer chase motivation. You generate momentum. You no longer shrink. You expand. You no longer wait. You build. The world responds differently to a person who knows who they are. Doors open. People follow. Energy shifts. Life bends toward the one who commands it with action, discipline, clarity, and purpose. You become the leader of your own fate rather than the passenger of your circumstances. And now you stand at a threshold, not of what you wish for, but of what you're ready to claim. Your life from this point forward will reflect the standard you hold, the movement you maintain, and the identity you embody. You are no longer stuck. You are no longer waiting. You are in motion. Now go build the life that was waiting for you to rise.